Hello, my friends and fellow sojourners. I wanted to tell you about the book that I wrote. I actually did a vlog that was about 10 minutes long, and it was too long, so I took it off the site. And I don't know who several people saw it, but I wanted to explain the concept of the book. It was filled with a lot of humor, a lot of tragedy, basically how the Lord ministered to me and my family as we were going through some really rough times. But there was a lot of humor in it. And so I wrote what they call a query letter when I went to a Christian Writers Conference back in 1996. And I wrote this query letter, and you're supposed to present that to the publishers and give them an idea of the concept of your book. And as I explained, I had written the query letter, and I put it in this valise. It's an eel skin, very expensive briefcase that I bought at a garage sale years ago. And it has locking mechanisms on here. And I took the query letter and put it in the valise and walked up to a publisher from Pacific Press, and I hadn't got any sleep the night before. I was exhausted. I was stressed. There was a lot of stuff going on at home, and I was second guessing myself as to whether anybody would be interested in my book. Well, I walked up to him, and do you know, I had forgotten the combination to this valise. And he was pretty good-humored about it. He took his little Swiss Army pocket knife and he pried it open and was able to read my query letter. And I want to read that to you. You know, I thought that this situation was destroyed when we had our flood in the house. And as we're getting ready to sell our home of 44 years, my husband came across this. And right at the very top was the letter that Pacific Press sent to me about my book. But the query letter was dated March the 8th of 1996. And this is the way I presented it to the editor, Ken Wade. I said, "Dear Mr. Wade, I propose to write a manuscript entitled A Basket Full of Broken Eggs, which represents a fiasco in raising children. I married my high school sweetheart, had two wonderfully obedient children, and thought mothering was a cinch. We were living the American dream, and I felt compelled to share our blessings with those less fortunate. After all, wasn't that my Christian duty? For the past 8 years, we offered our home to children whose parents were incarcerated, and found to my amazement that our family needed them as much as they needed us. God used one child, whom we adopted, to shake our infrastructure and then rebuilt our foundation of faith. I gathered these eggs the way a mother hen gathers her chicks. I tried to change our foster children's inherent traits because I was under the mistaken idea that I was a supermom. I wanted them to need me when all they really needed was the Lord. After an onslaught of problems, I felt like a hummingbird sitting on an ostrich egg trying to hatch it. My husband and I survived many trials with our children because of negative influences which confront many parents today. This book will mix humor, insight, and encouragement for blended families. It will show how to deal with broken hearts, broken promises, broken dreams, and broken spirits. Thank you very much for your consideration. Sincerely, Patricia Hoskins." So that's what I gave him that day, and he, was a little interested, but I didn't hear from him. And that was in March. So I didn't hear anything the rest of March or April. And I got this letter on May the 1st. And when I opened the mailbox and saw this letter, I knew immediately that he was interested in the book, and I got so excited. But while I'm jumping up and down and so joyful, my sister drives up and tells me, she has this horrible look on her face, and I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, the test came back for Dad, and he has terminal cancer. He only has a few months left to live. And that was devastating, absolutely devastating. And so I put this away, but first I read it, and I'll read it to you. It says, dated May the 1st, 1996, Dear Mrs. Hoskins, thank you for stopping by to visit with me during the Colorado Christian Writers Conference. I thought about the stories you shared with me about your son and the children you adopted several times since then. Today, in excavating my desk, I came upon your letter describing your proposed manuscript, A Basket Full of Broken Eggs. If you have some sample chapters of the manuscript ready to share, I would be glad to take a look at them and see if it looks like something we could publish. May God bless you and your special ministry today. Yours sincerely, Kenneth R. Wade, book editor for Pacific Press. So, life doesn't always turn out the way that you thought it would. Your hopes and dreams might be bound in a book form. Or maybe it's the prayers that you've prayed many times without any answers to the prayer and you've lost hope. Or maybe you have wayward children or grandchildren that have gone as far away from the Lord as they can go, and you don't think there's any hope of them ever returning back to God. And I would want to remind you that about the scripture about the prodigal son and how the father was waiting for his son to return with open arms. Didn't matter what he was doing, whether he was eating with the pigs or not. It didn't matter that he'd already got his portion of his inheritance. He was there ready to kill the fatted calf and welcome him back into the fold. And just as Jesus said that he would leave the 100 or the 99 to go find the one lost lamb, that's what the Lord will do. He will do whatever is necessary to bring our hopes and desires into fruition, but it's not our time, it's his time. This book was not mine to publish. It was not mine to share at the time. And it wasn't till my father died in January of the next year. And then in that February, we found out my mother had terminal cancer as well, and she was gone on the 4th of July. And life didn't turn out the way I wanted it to then, and it hasn't turned out the way that I thought it would now. As I said, we're getting ready to sell our home of 44 years. We're struggling with all the many memories that we've had in this home and coming up with little treasures that we thought were long gone because of the flood or things we haven't had to face before. And it's been very, very difficult. But on the other hand, it's been like a buried treasure. We're finding things that we'd forgotten about and the many provisions that God gave us, and know that the book may never be written again, but it doesn't matter. I'm able to share things on this blog about what we went through as a family and the many miracles that God was able to show us and provide for us over the years. So I may not get the written word down on a piece of paper, but my spoken word is just as important. And I was meant to share my experiences with anyone that's willing to listen, in hopes that you might get a laugh, you might shed a tear, you might get a word of encouragement, or whatever is necessary. Because I do believe that we are living in perilous times, and we need the Lord now more than ever. Of course, I'm sure over the centuries, people have thought now more than ever, but it does seem that we are definitely living in perilous time throughout the whole world, not just in our country. So I would encourage you to read your scriptures, pray, spend quiet time with the Lord, and let him minister to your needs as he's done with me for many, many years and continues to do so. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this blog and get a little idea about who we are and what we've gone through. But most of all, that the Lord has been glorified in the midst of it. So God bless you, my friends. Take care. Bye-bye.